Hi, Soomeen.
Oh, hi.
Hi, welcome. How are you doing?
Good, good.
Nice to
How are
meet
you?
you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. So, thanks for joining. Welcome to PA Talks. We're super excited for this discussion. Last time we were at CD Next 4. I think you gave a lecture for us almost 2 months ago. Yeah, it's been a while. Thanks for joining, and we're super excited about this discussion.
Thank you for inviting.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just gave a very short introduction about you and also about your experience in architecture. Can you please briefly introduce yourself and also tell us about the things that we cannot find in your biography?
I see. Yeah, I tend to put most of the things on my biography website.
As much as possible.
Yeah. But actually, I don't talk too much about personal details.
Yeah, no. I mean,
Yeah,
my biography
yeah.
introduction was very
I'm
short.
joking.
You can go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. So, myself, I haven't I studied myself. I have studied at the AA, and then after graduating, I worked for Zaha Hadid Architect for several years, and I was also before joining SIA, I was teaching at the Bartlett and at the AA, and I have been throughout my career, I have been always interested in computational design using the kind of generativeness of coding and simulations, and really really trying to kind of use computational tools as a conceptual tool to help me get more inspiration. There's something that I cannot design just with bare human hands. So I was really interested in that aspect, that kind of generative aspect and inspirational aspect, and looking at the formal kind of qualities and trying to fabricate and physicalize those computational beauty. So a lot of things we have researched with students have been very much focused on materialization of digital forms. And therefore, my latest research has been focused on augmented reality to kind of bridge the gap between difficult making processes and computational generative geometry. So, kind of because of the dominant kind of digital fabrication method has been for the last decades, has been about robotics or 3D printing, CNC machine. But I think I didn't have too much privilege to gain all those equipment.
Yes.
And being able to access. So most of the things have been about crafting with hand. But thankfully, like latest.
Yes.
Research using augmented reality have been a really good bridge between those very manual work and digital work. So,
yes. We're going to discuss about all these sections one by one: augmentation, computational design, your experience in Zaha. So let's start with your experience in Zaha. You work with Zaha at Zaha Hadid Architects. You've been involved in some of the major projects as ZHA as well. Can you talk a lot about this experience and how does that impacted your architecture?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like I really learned a lot from that experience. And to be honest, most of my classmates at that time went to Zaha because, one of our tutors, Patrick Schumacher, is the founder of our program.
Yes.
And he's the director. And also it was very natural to have AA graduates to go to Zaha because it's right trained people, set of people, isn't it?
They're
for the work.
training there, then they're hiring all of those people.
Yeah, but nowadays it's a bit different. I think a lot of schools also train
Yeah.
like, yeah, very similar skilled people. Yeah, and now it's a little bit more mixed. Yeah, but at that time, when my year, I was back in 2010. Yeah, there were mostly like few schools dominant.
Yeah,
Kind of
exactly.
people. Yeah, so it was for me very natural, but also because there was only not like one of the only practices that I can use my skill that I learned from my school. So I think I really wanted to practice there and learn. Yeah, and then yeah, what I ended up learning was quite different from what I learned from school. Yeah, but like I learned much more about like a practical aspect. Yeah, but which was also really, really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you were at AA for graduate degree, and where was your undergrad?
I studied in China. Yeah,
Okay.
I think, yeah, for my kind of age people, it's not very common. I'm Korean, South Korean, but I grown
Okay.
up in China. Yeah.
Okay.
So I studied in China. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Great. And also, you were teaching at Bartlett School of Architecture, UCL Bartlett, London. And your studio was one of the studios that I was always following the results to pop out in the media, so I can see what are you guys doing. And also, you were doing with Daniel Wittrick. And
Yeah.
can you talk about this studio as well? What were your approach at the studio Bartlett that you were running? What were you teaching to the students?
Yeah, so initially I was teaching with Daniel Wittrick, Stefan Bassing, also lately Igor Pantich, and yeah, several other people. Yeah, but I think in that kind of unit we were like mainly researching on crafting technique, inspired by a lot of different artist pieces, furniture makers, a lot of different types of things, the inspiration coming from all over the places, and really trying to learn different ways of materializing and creating interesting synthetic structure. So using materials and material process, crafting technique in a very creative way to create weird shapes, but that those are kind of more meaningful, more meaningful way of materializing complex geometry. So to help designers to kind of find a way to materialize kind of really weird shapes, but they are computed through analog computation, which is like using materials by testing it and trials and errors to find out how material behaves and how material accumulates together. And slowly like forcing and directing the materiality to kind of have this kind of human and material kind of conversation in order to generate interesting forms. And then later on to kind of stimulate those forms or material behaviors, kind of sometimes loosely follow the geometry and aesthetics to kind of repopulate them into digital, like bigger populated digital structure, and try to find out different kind of architectural potentials of those materialities. So that unit had always been really interested in one-to-one material prototypes and digitally populating them using scripting or simulation tools to kind of generate architectural potentials. So
Yeah.
those were the topics about that.
So like before designing in any architectural, like computational or any parametric software, you were designing directly by analog computing and analog material, like experimenting with materials.
Yeah,
without any computational design, right?
Yeah, that is actually how we approach and start the research. Yeah, and we always find that that gives us much more interesting results than starting from any algorithmic process, because we only know so much about few algorithms, and if we just start from them, then very likely we end up similar shape at the end. Yeah, so we wanted to always kind of go beyond from how algorithm directed like certain aesthetics. We wanted to go beyond that.
Yeah, nice. And also one of your studios that you were working on was Material Architecture Lab. Is it the same topic that you were working in the Bartlett Material Architecture Lab?
Oh yeah, that is what Daniel and later we joined. Our unit was joined with Guan Li's and Adam Holloway's unit, and they were kind of doing also very material driven work, but a lot with robotics. So they joined these two labs to kind of gain a bigger body. Yeah. So the unit became Material Architecture Lab. Yeah. So it's kind of part of it. Yes.
But in that case, you were using computational tools, right? Like in the software and computer, designing, then manufacturing them as a kind of like maybe 3D printing or CNC milling or anything.
It depends, and there's no answer. And during like every year with teams of students, they develop different portfolios, different sets of projects. Some projects maybe are more focused on robotics or 3D printing aspects, and some are more about maybe craftsmanship, about that materiality. But maybe like one thing really I can say that is common is that it has to kind of propose a meaningful ways of using material to create a kind of future aesthetics. Yeah. And then, so it's not just a material and make something like we could have seen like 80 years ago, like in the 80s, you know.
Yes.
Something that has to mean like what's really meaningful for today. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
So sometimes it's aesthetic driven, sometimes it's very material driven. Yeah. It all depends. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
But only thing was that we didn't like really just focus on certain tools. For example, we didn't only focus on robots or 3D printing. Yeah, I think that is an interesting topic to research, but it also limits the way of using material.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's the probably difference from some units, some other units.
Nice. So before continuing to the next section, guys, if you have any questions, please write them in the question box down below. I'll be exploring them and I will read them to ask them from Soomeen at the end. So if you have anything to ask, just go and write them in the down below. And also about digital ecology and generative city workshop, just visit our link in the bio. So you will have the full access to the information. So Soomeen, we talked about computational, we talked about analog manufacturing, and I want to ask one of your projects, one of the most outstanding projects that you did a couple of years ago, Tallinn Architecture Biennale, and also you worked with augmented craftsmanship as well with hologram, like steam benting all these wood sections. Can you talk about this project and how was these digital tools allowed you to both design and then manufacture this pavilion? Let's say installation.
Yeah, the project, yeah, I was really lucky to have this great team with Will, Cam, and Igor. Yeah, and like they're all really fantastic. So yeah, I cannot say that it's my project. Yeah, it's our project. Yeah, so basically we kind of proposed this as a competition entry, and we were very lucky that we won it. And like actually not many people really believe that we can really manage it because it looks so complex, it looks hairy. If you see the earlier concept for stage one, like it looks even more crazy.
Yeah, because I've seen the first renders. And
yeah.
I remember when I saw it, oh, how they're gonna build this one. It's so
curvy.
How they're gonna build this one. So but I followed the stages. You were uploading on or hologram were uploading on the internet, and it was amazing.
Yeah, it was a journey.
Yes.
Yeah, figuring out. Yeah, and actually none of us were expert in steam bending. We didn't really know how to steam bend, and we just literally like tested it in that stage of proposing it. Yeah, and Will told me he didn't actually want to win. He was extremely after we win. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but actually, I believe that it's actually a very good proposal, and it's very timely, talking about augmented reality-based crafting process, and yeah, and also we just wanted to really propose something that is challenging for whatever for the timber to be. Because the installation competition has to be with timber. That was the brief, because like Korea is a very timber-based culture. They are also like have good culture of sauna. You can like burn all the timbers afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was a brief. So there was no choice for material, but we wanted to do something quite challenging with timber. And like design wise, what's exciting is like making it curvy, isn't it?
Yes.
Propose something. Yeah. And actually Cam, like in our competition, Cam found a concept image. It was by this furniture designer, and the concept was a concept chair with steam bent timber that is like just kind of wrapped around.
We these chairs. I think I've seen it. If
wrapped around in a normal chair. Yeah, and it's like it just stands as a friction. So that was actually our main kind of concept idea coming from. And yeah, I thought this is a genius concept, because once we have those
interwoven,
interwoven and wrapped timber, and if they stand in friction, you can take out the internal regular chair. In that concept chair, it had a chair inside. Yeah, but he didn't. The designer didn't take it out. But what we imagined is like we can actually take out those frames inside.
Yes.
We can take it as a temporal scaffold, and if we make like several panels, then we can make a lot of curvy geometries on a very simple temporal scaffold. That was our initial idea. Yeah.
So from the beginning, you were working with Cameron, in Phonogram. How
Yeah.
you're going to implement this? So while you were designing, you were aware that you're going to work with a Steampunk, you're going to work with VR, virtual reality, you're going to work AR, and also you're going to work without crafting or sending any 2D details to any craftsmanship company. You just design in 3D. Then you just steampunked it while you were with VR glasses, right?
Yeah, AR.
AR glasses, sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, that was our starting point. So we will do AR project for sure. Yeah.
So that was not in brief, but it was your brief to design something that you're gonna produce in AR with AR.
Yeah, that was our initial concept. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, because at that time, I was running a unit in Bartlett already about augmented reality fabrication. And then we happened to know hologram, they also they did the startup similar year. But they created like a package of software already working so well.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, I invited them to team up with me. So that's kind of happened.
Yes.
That's how the teaming up happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Hologram is doing really great job at creating these packages and also softwares.
And, they're also really good designer. Yeah. And
exactly.
Yeah, they're good in everything. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And Cameron was in CD Next as well. He gave a very inspiring talk lecture as well. So this pavilion is a very great example of using augmented reality or augmentation craftsmanship and let's say in a small scale for now, and maybe in the large scale it can help us as well in the buildings scale. How do you see the future of augmentation, and if we wanted to scale it up, or I've seen some of your projects, the students at SCI-Arc, Southern California Institute, you were doing some sort of creating a city, sort of augmented with design, augmented with glasses. How do you see the future of augmentation?
I think there are lots of ways to think about it. I see augmentation in a more broader term. So I'm more interested in how people are kind of augmented with tools and knowledge and data, and AR is just very small aspect of that. So, for example, like wearables, like exoskeleton, is kind of something that I'm also interested in. And some of the seminars that I teach in SCI-Arc, they are, some of them are more focused on the software part. So in order to kind of test out different, or in order to learn how to build an AR app, we kind of tested that with this agenda of making a city that can be experienced with augmentation. So using AR, how can we change, or how our future kind of experience of city can be a little bit different. So it's kind of a question that we can kind of test in this kind of agenda with augmented reality application design kind of unit. So for that, especially as you asked, this, for example, one project the student did was about creating like some AI avatars around city. and these avatars represent different buildings. So if you have like a McDonald's, for example, then you have a McDonald's character that you can actually interact with this AI character. And, instead of you can nowadays just tag likes, for example, whenever you go to somewhere like in Google Map or something. But yeah, what if you can actually more intuitively communicate with buildings or some kind of places and spaces more intuitively or differently? How the data you collect will be different. So that was like one broad question. Of course, there's no answer, but yeah. So one of the student team developed this app that can actually collect data by engaging with this avatar.
Nice.
Digital avatar. And the idea is to use this collected data, like you can collect data in social media and maybe do sentimental analysis and stuff. But maybe like that is kind of like another aspect. But the idea is that you can actually collect this data. And this data can somehow interpret it and determine how we design the future cities. Yeah, so that was their big kind of picture of their project.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
great. Go on. Go on, please.
So what I'm saying is, so that is like one small aspect of augmented reality application in the ways of designing software and thinking about the ways we experience city in the future. Another aspect is definitely about fabrication. So how we use augmented reality technique, then actually what we can produce and fabricate can be something different. So we don't just rely on traditional making process or traditional blueprint or just kind of constrained with robotic, purely robotic 3D printing kind of process.
Yes.
So it just opens up a lot of possibilities. So there are like these two aspects of direction of researching on AR is something I am currently doing. But I'm actually in the future, I'm actually interested in something further. So I'm doing a PhD right now and trying to write down like this research proposal. But
you're doing PhD at SIR?
No, it's a part-time one in FIU.
Okay.
Florida International University. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a relatively new program, but it's pretty good. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm enjoying it a lot. Yeah. Anyways, and that topic is actually about using exoskeleton, because right now, like exoskeleton is like prosthetics. So it's not only there are already some products are really helping the construction workers to be augmented. And there are some factory and warehouse uses already, but not very much yet used in like this kind of creative design industry.
Right.
And most of the cases are like problem solving, just lifting something heavier and just build something like ordinary. But like if we have this kind of exoskeleton and AR augmented workers and designers, how can we change or how can we design something more different? That's my like bigger question that I'm interested in.
Yeah, nice. And talking about augmentation and digital tools, we're gonna have a studio workshop together, which is called Digital Ecology, a Generative City. It's gonna start from next week, 8th June, and it's a program, studio bookshop, online studio bookshop for Pacademy, by Pacademy. Can you talk about this studio workshop as well? What are students are gonna learn, and who can who can enroll to this studio, and what will be the takeouts? What will be the projects that they're gonna work on this studio project?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for inviting us to teach the workshop. Yeah, I'm very excited about it. Yeah. So this workshop it's going to be less about AR, but it's more focused on generativeness, because if we also talk about augmented fabrication, the reason for building it with computer guiding humans is because the design itself is difficult to be kind of memorized or designed from human heads, right? So the generativeness of the original design concept that is coming from more algorithmic process or help of digital tools is really, really important aspect. So this workshop will be focused on that aspect, which is also like many of one of my like kind of interest, like a research agenda, one of the interest research agenda. And we are going to use Unity to kind of generate kind of really we'll kind of like introduce few ways of how we generate kind of concept cities. And we will run this. We are going to run the studio as a design studio kind of workshop. So it's very much about similar to how we run design studio. So it's not only about technical development. It's about we introduce some technique in our workflow, and students or participants will test out their own design kind of iteration, or whole processes of designing using the introduced workflow. So using our workflow, the participants will develop your own project, design and generate a city and we are going to test out the whole workflow of generating city and representing it with film-based and like kind of interactive game or film. But we are going to develop everything from Unity, so including the model generation to representation, making film or making game, will be all in one package. So so basically we are going to introduce some kind of like how to use Unity C# to generate like interesting concept cities, and we will freeze those cities at one moment and we will start to make it really beautiful. And like we will really talk about how the representation of film as a media to kind of communicate about your project is going to be so it like also there will be some kind of discussions about filmmaking, camera angles, film representation, and interactive,
Amazing. So as if you want to find out more about this studio workshop, just go to our profile, Parametric Architecture, then click on the link in our bio, read the information and register as soon as possible. The studio is going to start next week. So I'll put the link in the comment section as well. So if you want to start registering, just go to our website and register from the link in the website. Thank you so much, Soomeen. And I have a couple of other questions as well. How do you think in the time span of 20 years, these computational tools, generative tools, parametric design tools have impacted architecture and the way we think about architecture and the way we do architecture in the time span of 20 years?
Sorry, what's the question about past?
How from 2000 till now, how do you think these tools have changed the way we do architecture and the way we design?
I think because of the technology have been improved and we became like more familiar with the tools, and this became more intuitive. Like right now, we don't feel too much discrepancy using mouse or keyboard. I think as things become more and more intuitive, it becomes much more like coming together with how we think about design. So I think more and more the computational tools themselves have been helping the change of the aesthetics or the output and the spaces. Yeah. So even before, when we were talking about CAD, for example, so like let's say early, like old school computational design projects were like you design from your head, like only genius people can have really great architecture, and you use these computational tools to like really like put a lot of effort to realize the sketch.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's still human design. But I think more and more we are using computer to help us think, and I think that kind of mixture and hybrid of the concept and design itself to be more computerized, I think it's something like how computer actually impacted over those periods of time. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
And of course, in the future, people are talking about AI generated architecture. Well, I still see that kind of still, I don't see humanness or human aspect will be completely deleted in even future architectural design, but the role of what human does during design process, I think it will have very different, it will be very different. Yeah.
Right, true. And you discussed that we can design more complex geometries and spatial structures, and also get recommendations also from the computer, or by setting generative algorithms or computational algorithms. Do you think, and even if we think of in terms of 100 years, if any architect from 100 years ago comes to this age and watches what we are doing with these tools, they would think now maybe we are alienated, or we're some aliens designing these geometries or using computers to these kind of tools to do architecture. But in terms of the quality of the spaces, now I understand that we are able, and I'm also promoting these tools, we are able to create super complex geometries and more interesting and more beautiful structures. In terms of the quality of the spaces, do you think these tools have helped us to create more high quality spaces? Is it for sure that we can say that?
I think we are, as a humanity, we are trying to improve something always. Yeah, and I think, of course, it's depending on you defining what high quality means. does high quality meaning complex geometry? Probably not, right?
Yes.
But as a complex building, that if you have the aesthetic kind of goal, I'm sure we are trying to find and refine better ways to make those kind of new aesthetics. That's for sure, yeah. But I think probably we cannot really define what the meaning of our age is. Similar to when we think about Le Corbusier, you know,
Yes.
like at the end, like actually how people are now living, the ways people live, and ways people ways of the spaces are creating different typologies. Like it creates so much more impact than just making a flat roof, right?
True.
So it has so much impact on how people live and how people design, and so I think it's probably very early to really define what this means. But I think definitely, I know some people don't believe in computational design or whatsoever. And I feel like that's a little bit kind of shame because I think technological development is an inevitable thing. Tools are
True.
evolving and
True.
changing, and we as architects and designers, we should kind of really think about how this will actually impact on how we design and make our physical spaces. And yeah, I think there are very little discussions yet, although I know Hamid, you are doing a great job, like really trying to communicate this with larger audience. And I think younger and younger generations will be more and more into the real aspect, a real like meaning of this shift. But if we just start to talk with this a little bit of older generation, and, like,
yes,
we
true.
still, find that some people think this is they don't believe as we believe it. Yeah.
No, true. I totally agree with you, and even I sometimes see people, they don't even use any kind of Revit or computational tools, and they don't believe in it. But they are still doing architecture. They are designing. They are. It should be really important to keep up with the pace of technological improvements, developments, and because it saves a lot of time. It brings more newer ways of craftsmanship or newer ways of construction, manufacturing as well. So like architecture and design or construction are some kind of low speed industry. So we need to keep up with the other industries' speeds as well. And AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning is one of them. That emergence of these tools with the architecture would make a lot of difference in both design and also manufacturing techniques as well. Yeah, I totally believe in what are you saying, and thanks for you to mentioning that as well. And I saw in the comments that people are asking about the studio, digital ecology, generative city. Please go to our web profile and visit the link in our profile. Limited seats are left. The studio will start next week. And it's a 6-week-long online studio workshop by Academy. Soomeen Hahm and his colleague from Bartlett will lead the studio, Han-Jung Kim. So please go and read the details and register if you want. And we're going to start next week. And thanks for your contribution for this interview, Soomeen. I've got two final questions, and then I will ask some questions from the audience as well. What do you think about our platform, PA?
Yeah, I think it's great. Yeah, I think it's really important to open up certain platforms. Really, like that's why I also call like my research unit also platform SD platform.
Yes,
because
SD platform, right?
I feel like it's something that you make a platform and let a lot of people to contribute, and
True.
like broadening the network of our thoughts and kind of just making the world more interesting by sharing sharing ideas and skills. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know much, but I heard more like computer scientists like world, like it's more common to share like people's script, yeah, and like skills, and it's really common because you have to share in order to build up on top of other people's development, so you can actually develop as a whole community.
Yes, true.
And we don't have that much, and I think yeah, like also PA is also one of that, trying to establish that kind of building up knowledge from a lot of aspects, from technical aspect as well, but also from design aspect. We're trying to share it and communicate that, so you build it up as a community and try to be better and better than your previous successor. Yeah.
Exactly.
So anyway, yeah, it's great. Yeah, and I totally support the kind of activities and the energy. Yeah.
Thank you so much for such a great expression of what are we doing. Appreciate that. Thank you. It was amazing. And before going to my final question, I would just pop up a question in here. CD Arch, Nila and Verda as our students from different studios. He asked, "Hi, Human. Would love to know the advantages of using the workshops, workflow, and education vs practice. Also, how does it enhance the design thinking ability?"
I think technically, if I put technically speaking, if you are not familiar with game engine, you will learn at least like using game engine to design and navigate and create representation. I think it's a very essential, very useful skill, even in education or practice it. Yeah, so you design and in real time, you can check and you can render in real time, and also you can gain how to make like interactive game, and that's a very useful skill. And I think more and more education and practical institutes will utilize game engine. So I think learning game engine technically is a very useful thing. And design thinking, I don't know how much you are familiar with it, but if you have not done any work using generative process, it's an interesting workflow to test. Yeah, so try to let computer to run for a certain time, and you observe and you kind of make decisions, and it's kind of an interesting interactive process, designing with computer together. So if you want to test it, it's a great opportunity to do that. If you're not interested, it's okay. Skill-wise, you will learn scripting. So learning scripting is very useful skill. if you are already familiar with scripting, the course will cover from beginning to something quite like we will speed up, so you will get into something quite advanced scripting as well. So that will be also not so bored for different level students. And what was the last question? About design.
How does it enhance the design thinking ability?
Design thinking ability, yeah, I think always testing out somebody's workflow is a new ways of challenging your design thinking, I think. So basically, Hamid told me to run a workshop as I do in SciArc. Yeah, in SciArc, yes. We have a lot of design studios, and every design studio is led by different faculty, and they use, maybe there will be same brief, but they all tackle it in different ways. And students get to kind of compare and see what are the different approaches. And it's already a good challenge to test somebody's design process. So,
yeah, true.
Of course, it will be just by trying out somebody's workflow, it will challenge yourself, and we can, of course, discuss and debate. Yeah, if it's agreeable or not agreeable.
Yeah, true. Raj Hansrai asks, is there any limit for the studio program for making interactive? I just wanted to know.
Program?
Yeah, I think that question was in the comments that I read. I think it was about Bartlett's program or our studio program. I didn't understand it even. So let me just, go on.
The person who wrote the question maybe can elaborate that a little bit.
Yes. If Raj, if you're hearing me, please just let us know what was your question. And we have another question as well. Rainbow Fish asks, did you use VR in the pavilion in Tallinn? Do you think VR technology could become mainstream in architecture?
Okay, so the main difference of VR and AR is VR is virtual reality and AR is augmented reality. And AR, what I mean by AR is actually, people say XR, mixed reality, but AR has a clear physical vision. VR doesn't, you don't see the world, the real world, but AR, you see the real world. Yeah. So, yes, we used AR for the pavilion in Tallinn, and AR technology will be, I feel like, will be just available to us like our 3D printers. So we can now buy 3D printer at home, and like now in SciArc, every student have one 3D printer on their desk. It's amazing, yeah. So it will be as common as that, yeah. And you can actually have, build an AR app to your phone very easily, yeah. Depending on, like, if you are talking about AR headsets, yes, like so many companies are now working on making much more smaller and more fashionable AR glasses. And they probably in some future there will be AR lenses. So it's a technique that is going to be available for us.
Yes, technology. Nice. So real quick, there's 4 minutes left for this conversation. I've heard that in 60 minutes, Instagram just shut us down for the live sessions. I'm not sure. Let's see what happens. But before ending the session automatically, please find out more information about the studio workshops, which is going to start next week. Digital ecology, generative city. Go to our profile and click on the link in our bio. 7 days left to start. It's a 6-week-long studio workshop led by Soomeen Hahm and his colleague from Bartlett, Hanjun Kim. So if you're interested, sign up now. Limited seats are left. Thanks for asking the questions again about the studio. So one more questions from the comments. Do we need Simina, who is a participant at the studio as well? Do we need to have some experience about C# before the workshop?
No, it's okay for beginners.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, nice. And my final question, what is your advice for young professionals and students?
Just stay positive and enthusiastic and stay on learning and figuring out things. Yeah, open your mind to learn.
Keep up with the technology.
Yeah.
And join our studio. Thank you. Thanks, Soomeen. Appreciate your time. It was such a nice discussion. I really appreciate your time, and I learned a lot from this discussion as well. Looking forward to do the same in the future as well. Do you have any final words to add?
No, thank you very much, Hamid, for organizing all this. Yeah, it's a great thing what you did too. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Keep up this network space. Yeah.
Of course. Okay. Always. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a nice day.
Good day.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.